What's going on, Ghosties? Welcome back to Tales of Spooky Coffee House. If you're new here, welcome to our podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Chelsea,
And I'm Veronica.
and it's time for our much needed coffee break. Veronica, I have
Oh
a funny story to tell you.
my gosh, do tell.
So, I had to get new tires for my car, right?
Hmm.
And I had an issue with one of the new tires, so I had to go back. And while I was there, I was talking to the guy and he was looking at it, and all of a sudden, like, all of the mechanics in the back just like stopped what they were doing and just like, that feel like that instant where it's like people are looking, they're not looking at you, but they're looking like past you, but you feel like everybody is watching you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happened. And I was like, because I had Remy with me, and I'm like, shit, she's getting into something. So I panicked. I'm like, where's my kid? And she was just quietly playing on her tablet, like not a care in the world. And I was like, okay, why is everybody staring like in my direction? And while the guy was talking to me, I happened to turn around. This fucking semi driver, okay, the mall is across the street from the shop. This semi driver not only ran over the medium to the parking lot, but he got his truck so stuck that his front tires could not, like, they couldn't touch the floor. And so he's just sitting there blocking the entire, not just the intersection, like for coming in and out of the mall, but the entire four-way intersection at the stoplight.
Did he
And I'm
not
like,
see
I,
like
I don't
how
know.
does that
I
happen?
don't know. And so I was like, because these people started taking their phones out, taking pictures, and I'm like, what the fuck, like. And so by the time I ended up leaving, like the cops were there directing traffic. They had to make it a one-way road. Oh my god, it was hilarious. I'm like, how, like, and it wasn't even like his tires were on both sides. His tires were on either side of the medium. I'm like, what the fuck?
No.
Oh.
He must have been so embarrassed. I know I would have been like,
I know.
fuck.
I would have abandoned my truck and just never showed my
I
face
would have
there
just walked
again.
home, like, all right, I'm done. Clocked out, I quit. Don't need to fire me, I'm out.
Yeah. But I was just like, that was great.
At least they weren't looking at you.
Yeah, like that's like I started sweating, like I was nervous. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm.
But on a not so funny note, have you like been following the possible serial killers in the States right now?
No.
Okay, so we talked about the smiley face killer, about how like that was a possible thing.
Hmm.
Kind of going with that same like MO where it's the guys leaving the bars, clubs, parties, basically like anywhere where they're drunk and alone at night,
Hmm.
and they're seen leaving these places but never making it home. It's also happening in Minneapolis, parts of Pittsburgh, Boston, and even in Austin. And the police in all of these cities are saying the same thing, that these people are just accidentally falling into bodies of water, and all of them are cases of accidental drowning.
No, sir.
Yeah. So that's one possible serial killer that's currently active in the US. The other one, instead of being a national issue, is mainly in Portland. So there have been 6 women found in the Portland wooded areas, and this case is a lot more quiet than the one that I just told you about,
Hmm.
because there's not much facts and evidence being released because it's an ongoing case, but they have seen a connection, and that I think 3 or 4 for sure of the victims visited the same place. But I've been keeping an eye on it and waiting for more updates. Just, you know, the police are kind of like trying to stay away from, oh no, it's not a serial killer, but everybody's like, no, like this is not a
Why do you think they're
coincidence.
lying?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more cover-ups of true crime than we realize, especially because true crime is becoming extremely popular. Like, I mean, TikTok just solved the Gabby Pestito murder, and I think the government realized like how much we can do now.
Yeah, how much knowledge we could get a hold of.
Yeah, so I think that the cover-ups are just like they don't want to admit how much is actually going on. Like
Mhm.
they want to stay in the belief that they're in control when they're not.
Yeah.
But that just shows you the craziness of the world right now.
Mhm. The world in the past decade has just gotten so like, I wonder, like, has the world always been like this crazy type of
What
nutty fucking
Yeah,
shit show?
100%.
Or are we
100%.
just noticing it more because like we're out of school, we're out from that distraction and social media, you know?
Not only that, but there's also, the access to the internet and information and people together, like, it's not the government can't control what we see anymore, and so we're
Yeah.
seeing everything.
Unless they like ban certain stuff. Like I know TikTok has been banned in a couple states already, but I mean there's other social media platforms, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, but a lot of those are, what do you call it? They're monitored by the government, like, these billionaires, millionaires that run these platforms. They're in bed with the government,
Yeah.
and TikTok is that's why they're so against it, is because they're letting people post what's actually happening around them. It's not like
Mhm.
they're creating fake videos, they're using actual, like, information, actual experiences, and that's something that they're not okay with. They can't control the narrative.
Mhm. That's true.
Here we are getting, like, really fucking serious.
Well, because like it's true though, like the government
Yeah,
has so much control, like for example, of the news and what they
mhm,
say and what they're allowed to say and what
exactly.
direction to go with the narrative, you know? Like yeah, it makes sense.
Not only that, but different areas cater to different people. So, like in Midwest, the Eastern states, the Western states, they're all receiving the same stories, but in different narratives to control those areas and keep us separated. And
Mhm.
it's a mess because now people are like starting to realize that. Like, I think I brought up before in a previous episode about a newspaper heading, how in one state it said something, and then in a different state it had a completely different like story, like part of the story that they told. Like it
Mhm.
was,
Different narrative,
yeah,
different.
yeah.
Mhm.
But speaking of crazy things, so I was telling you about my coworker Jose, right? Who wants to be on the show, really loves the podcast, just binge.
Jose.
So, the craziest fucking thing happened, like, 2 weeks ago, like, right after I told you about him. I live in a set of, like, duplexes, and there's 2 places that are for rent right now,
Mhm.
and we're just chilling, like, we had just walked to the parade, it was a hot day, like, we were home just relaxing. There's a knock on the door, and my husband went and answered it, started talking to this person at the door. I was like, "Okay, whatever," like, I'm just gonna play on my phone. They were talking about wanting information about the apartment or the duplex that's for rent, and essentially, like, the person that he was talking to was getting scammed. Somebody had posted it on Facebook and was like, "Oh, you send me the money, I send you the key in the mail," that type of thing, right?
Mm.
Yeah, and then I hear, "Well, do you wanna check out our place so you can, like, see what it looks like? It's basically the same thing as the one that's for rent." And they're like, "Yeah." And they walk in, and I just happened to, like, look out of my door, and I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck?" It was Jose.
What?
And he looked at me, he was like, "What?" He goes, "You're Chelsea's husband?" He's like, "What the fuck is going on right now?" I was
Fucking
like, "What's going on?" Yeah.
stalker.
And I was telling one of my other friends, and she's like, "Chelsea, you're into true crime and stuff." She's like, "You don't find that suspicious at all?" And I I was like, honestly, I was like, "No, like, he's too young to be like that."
And that's where you fuck up,
Yeah,
Chelsea.
that's where I fuck up. But I was just like, "What the fuck?" Like, that was, like, the biggest coincidence. Not only was he checking out the places near me, but he showed up I was like, "Dude, that's insane." I was like, "Well, when we record the podcast, you know where I live now."
Ew. Well, Jose, we're keeping an eye on you, kid. How old is
But
Jose?
18.
Yeah, kid.
Yeah, he's a
I was
kid.
like, should I have not have called him a kid?
No, he's a kid. He's a
He's
kid.
like 40. Sir.
No, I think if he was 40, that's when it would have been like, something's wrong here, but no,
Ew,
he's
he's like lied about his age.
I mean, if he lied about his age, he's definitely a vampire, cause
That that's
there's no
that's
way.
that's where your mind goes, Chelsea. Not if he lies about his age. What else is he lying about? No, he might be a vampire.
Listen, it's just not I don't anyways, we're moving
You
on
know,
from
I,
this
I kept
topic.
saying I keep seeing a thing where on Instagram where it's like, if all of your friends are in a horror movie, who would die first? And I'm like thinking like, like silly people that I have in my life, some of my coworkers, but right now I'm very much convinced that it'll be you. You're done.
No, I don't feel like I would be the first to die.
I do. I believe it.
Anyways, we're moving on from this topic.
Yes, let's move on. Funny enough, you have the true crime topic of the week, so one day it's going to be about you.
It's either gonna be because I'm the first person to die or because I killed somebody. There's no in between.
I have a coworker that we joke around a lot about like her unaliving people or just doing something crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I get first dibs on like an interview with you for the podcast. So it's like set. It's set. If she
We
ever loses her shit, we got an interview with the killer, you know what I mean?
okay. I've got a coworker too that I do stuff like that with all the time. And we, for the first time in a long time, were working and we were talking about how we wanted to key a specific person's car. And then she was like, while we're doing that, we should just go start setting shit on fire. And I was like, yeah, dude, sounds fucking great time. And one of our coworkers happened to be walking by and just stared at us like very worried. Like we were gonna actually go set shit on fire. And I was like, "Don't worry, we're not doing it right now." And he just got like the look on his face was like, "Okay, I'll take that." And he just walked away.
Yeah, you're a little crazy.
Yeah.
That's why you got to be careful with what you say around who, like,
Yeah,
I
but
don't know,
he
man.
also like he talks to us all the time, so he like knows.
Yeah, he knows
He's one
how
of
you
those
guys
like
are.
he knows that we're joking, but also knows that like that's something that we would actually do if the
Yeah.
timing was right.
Like I keep thinking about, because I have like one of my customers that listens to the podcast. Shout out to you. I'm just gonna say MP because I don't know if I'm allowed to say your name on the podcast, but
Mhm.
like on the topic of like being careful with what we say and like who hears it, I like for a millisecond I was like, oh, there's things like that I'm worried about him hearing because like I don't want him to think of me like as a bad person or something like that. I'm not
Mhm.
a bad person. I'm a silly person. You're the
I'm the
one that everyone
psycho.
should be worried about. Yeah. But honestly, like at this point, I think it's too late. Because he has listened to like the podcast and he has told me like he's enjoying it. So I'm like, well, if he's listening, then he already knows a lot. And if he's enjoying it, then he's okay with it. We're good. We're fine.
That's
But
how
yeah, shout out
that's
to
kind of
him
how
though.
yeah, shout out to just like people at our workplaces because like I didn't expect Jose to like fucking binge listen to our podcast in literally like
Mhm.
a week, dude. Like I was like, did you listen to almost 60 hours of fucking podcasts? Like,
I don't know. He's on my under my sus list.
So, anyways, jumping into the true crime topic of the week, we're going to talk about Mary Flora Bell.
Yes. I don't know who that
Yes.
is, but
I
yes.
was going to say, do you know who she
No.
I was like, I'm ready to blow your mind and you're already over here knowing.
Like, oh
Anyways,
yeah, yeah,
so
Mary.
we talk about a lot of Marys actually. So, ghosties, don't name your child Mary because we've how many have we talked about? Like six, seven?
Yeah, one of the most famous ones that's like blowing up our TikTok is Mary Vincent, the
Yeah.
one that
But
got
she
her
was a victim, not a
arms.
killer, so
No, but still.
yeah, yeah. Just don't name your kids Mary, guys. Come on.
Stay
Like,
away from it. Stay away
yeah,
from it.
yeah.
And if
Anyways,
your
Mary
name is already Mary, good luck.
yeah. I mean, changing your name is totally a thing now. It's totally legal. Doesn't
Mhm.
cost that much.
Phoebe Buffay did it, so.
Mary Flora Bell is an English woman who was born on May 26, 1957, to a father who was rarely present and a mother who was hardly around because she was a prostitute.
Mm,
So we're already set up for failure.
mhm.
Mary was severely neglected and was unwanted because the identity of her biological father was unknown. The reason why her father was rarely present is because that was like her mother's main boo. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm.
Now this gets worse because trigger warning people like this is I mean
Oh, she's learning.
yeah, we should have set a trigger warning for last episode too with what was her name, Alexa?
Uh-huh. I should have fucking did a trigger warning for my book.
Yeah, no, that needed a trigger warning, but
Thinking
I was
back
laughing
at
my
that.
I was laughing my ass off,
But
but
that just shows your psychotic side, man. You're like, people dying,
yeah,
cannibals.
I love yeah, like I realized too, like as I was editing, like I didn't even blink twice at the fact that they were like eating people. I
Mhm.
was picking at the plot holes, like, well, this doesn't make sense. They said that they didn't eat just anybody, and then you're like, oh no, it's low quality, high quality meat, and anyways.
Yeah. Moving on. Listen to the last episode if you guys are curious that about what we're talking about.
So this gets worse because Mary's mother literally tried to kill her several times when she was younger. And here's where the trigger warning is needed. Remember, this is her mother and she's little. She tried to kill her by dropping her out of a window, giving her a handful of sleeping pills, and even once sold Mary when she couldn't kill her.
Bro,
Now,
what?
yeah, she sold her to a woman who couldn't have children, which doesn't make it any better, but like so, despite these acts of child abuse, Mary's mother refused the offers from family members to take custody of her. And this is like one of those cases where we've talked about how things could have been so different for killers if their circumstances were different.
Mhm.
And I 100% believe that this would be the case in this particular topic because knowing all of this, it's no surprise that Mary would become Britain's youngest female killer.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a high title to hold. So on Saturday, May 11th, 1968, a 3-year-old boy was discovered wandering dazed and bleeding in the vicinity of St. Margaret's Road, and the child later informed police that he had been playing with Mary Bell and Norma Bell, who has no relation to Mary despite the last name, and they were playing on a air raid shelter when he had been pushed 7 feet from the roof to the ground. He was unsure which one of the girls had actually pushed him, but the same evening, the parents of 3 small girls contacted the police to complain that both Mary and Norma had attempted to strangle their children as they played in the sandpit. So, all in one day, like they attacked 4 different people,
Bruh.
4 different children. That same evening, both girls were interviewed about these incidents, and they both denied any involvement in the air raid shelter incident, claiming that they had discovered the boy who was bleeding after he had fallen. When they tried to ask about the strangulation of the 3 young girls, Mary denied any knowledge of the incident, but Nora admitted that Mary had tried to quote unquote throttle each of the girls. And this is her statement. Mary went to the girls and said, "What happens if you choke someone? Do they die?" Then Mary put both hands round the girls' throats and squeezed. The girl started to go purple. I told Mary to stop, but she wouldn't. Then she put her hands around Pauline's throat and she started going purple as well. Another girl, Susan Cornish, came up and Mary did the same thing to her. End quote. So, police notified the local authority of these incidents and of Mary's violent nature, but due to her age, both girls were simply just given a warning and no further action was taken. This is another one of those incidents where, just because of their
It could have
age,
been stopped
yeah,
earlier.
yeah,
Yeah.
just because their age does not mean that they're not capable of doing these things.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks later, May 25th, 1968, the day before her 11th birthday, Mary strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown in an upstairs bedroom of a house that was located on St. Margaret's Road. She's believed to have committed this crime alone, and Brown's body was discovered by three children at approximately 3:30 p.m. A local workman heard the children screaming out for help, and he attempted to perform CPR, but he was not able to save Martin Brown. As he was trying to attempt CPR, Mary and Norma appeared in the doorway to the bedroom. Both were quickly shooed out of the house. After the girls left, the next day, they conducted a postmortem on Martin's body, and Doctor Bernard Knight was unable to find any signs of violence on his body. And because they were unable to determine his exact cause of death, they put it down as they believed that he had died of poisoning by ingesting something that he had gotten his hands on.
Wow.
Yeah. On Mary's 11th birthday, May 26th, the very next day, she and Norma broke in and vandalized a nursery in a nearby area. They tore books, they upturned desks, they smeared ink and poster paints, and then they left. The following day, the staff had discovered the break-in and vandalism, immediately notified the police, and they also discovered, while they were looking at this break-in, four separate notes that claimed responsibility for Martin Brown's murder. One of these notes is quoted as saying, "I murder so that I may come back." Another read, "We did murder Martin Brown. Fuck off, you bastard."
Wow.
Um,
At 11?
yeah, yeah, that was her birthday. Like, she just turned 11. The third note simply said, "Fuck off, we murder. Watch out, Fanny and faggot." Yeah. The final note was the most complex, and it read, "You are mice. Why? Because we murdered Martin. Go Brown. You better look out there. Are murderers about Fanny, by Fanny, and could faggot you screws." I know that sounded weird, but that's exactly how it's put in the quotes, like that. Like, that's why it's the complex one, because it kind of makes sense, but kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
But because of the spelling and the errors and everything, the police dismissed this incident as just tasteless and childish pranks.
Mhm.
Um,
So they're getting away with it again.
yeah, so they're getting away with it again. 2
You're
days.
gonna piss me off with this one, huh? I'm already irritated.
Dude, I'm not even halfway done with my notes on her. So 2 days later, May 29th, shortly after Martin Brown's funeral, in a game of chicken, both girls went to his mother's house, asking to see her son. When his mother, June Brown, replied that they couldn't see her son because he was dead, Mary replied, "Oh, I know he's dead. I want to see him in his coffin."
No, that's all kinds of fucked up.
Yeah, yeah. When I read that, I was like, my jaw dropped. I was like, "What?" So, moving on the afternoon of July 31st, 1968, a 3-year-old named Brian Howe was last seen by his parents in the street outside his house playing with his siblings, the family dog, and Mary and Norma Bell. When he did not return home later that afternoon, obviously, his concerned family and neighbors searched the streets without being able to find him. At 11:10 p.m., a search party discovered his body between two large concrete blocks. The first policeman that arrived at the scene said that a deliberate but feeble attempt had been made to conceal the body, which was covered in clumps of grass and weeds. Several bruises and scratches were evident on him on his neck, and a pair of broken scissors lay close to his feet. The coroner would conclude that Brian had died of strangulation and that he had been deceased for up to 7.5 hours before the discovery of his body. His killer had evidently squeezed Brian's nostrils closed with one hand as he or she gripped his throat with the other. So numerous puncture wounds had also been inflicted to his legs before death. Sections of his hair had been cut from his head. His genitals had been partially mutilated, and a crude attempt had been made to carve the initial M into his stomach. The small amount of force that was used to murder Brian Howe is how the coroner was able to conclude that the killer was also another child. This is important for later, but numerous gray and maroon fibers were found on his clothing and shoes. And while they did not, so like they weren't able to find anything within the household that matched, that's how they were able to conclude that it had been transferred to the child by his killer. And so this would become evidence later on in their investigation. The discovery of Brian Howe's body sparked a large-scale manhunt, and over 100 detectives from across Britain were assigned to the investigation, and more than 1,200 children had been questioned with regard to their whereabouts by August 2nd. So this took place within 2 days. Like they did all of this. On August 1st, detectives had questioned both Mary and Norma because witnesses had informed the investigators that they had seen them playing with Brian shortly before he was believed to have died. Initially, in her first interview, Nora seemed excitable, whereas Mary was more observant and kind of like tactful. Both girls were explained as being evasive and contradictory in their initial statements, and they freely admitted to playing with Brian on the day of his death, but denied having seen him after lunchtime. So, questioned further the following day on August 2nd, Mary stated that she remembered seeing an 8-year-old local boy playing with Brian on the day that he died, and that she had also seen him hitting the child. She also stated she remembers that the boy had been covered in grass and weeds as if he had been rolling in a field, and that he had in his possession a small pair of scissors. She then said, and quote, I saw him trying to cut a cat's tail off with the scissors, but there was something wrong with them. One leg was broken or bent. End quote. This was a self incriminating statement, and I don't know if you caught the details, but it was obvious that Mary was the actual killer, as only the police knew about the broken scissors found at the crime scene. Not only that, but
Mm.
the local boy that she named was quickly questioned and was discovered to have been at an airport on the afternoon of Brian's death, with multiple witnesses that were able to corroborate his alibi. So on August 4th, Norma Bell's parents contacted the police stating that their daughter wanted to confess what she knew of the death of Brian Howe. When investigators arrived at their home, they formally cautioned Norma and then asked what she knew. She informed them that Mary had taken her to a spot on they call it the Tin Lizzie, which is where Brian's body was found, and she had shown him Brian's body. Mary had then demonstrated to her how she had strangled the child. According to Norma, Mary had confessed to her that she enjoyed strangling him before describing how she inflicted the cuts onto his stomach with a razor blade, which had also been hidden at the crime scene. Norma then led the police to the crime scene and revealed the location where the razor blade was hidden. They then had Norma make a drawing of the wounds that were inflicted into Brian's abdomen, and that's how they knew that she was telling the truth because she had accurately drawn the same markings on his body. So Mary was visited at her home on August 5th. She was notably defensive when investigators confronted her, and she told detectives, quote, "You're trying to brainwash me. I will get a solicitor to get me out of this." End quote. When Norma was questioned again that same day, she made a full statement in which she admitted to being present when Mary had strangled Brian Howe. According to Norma, when the trio were alone, Mary seemed to go all funny. She pushed him into the grass and attempted to strangle him before stating to Norma, quote, "My hands are getting thick. Take over." She then ran from the scene, leaving Mary alone with Brian. When investigators went through the clothing that both girls owned, the same gray fibers that were discovered on Brian's body were a precise match to a dress that was owned by Mary, and the maroon fibers were a match to a skirt that was owned by Norma. Investigators later found that these same gray fibers that belonged to Mary were also found on Martin Brown's body, connecting her to his murder.
Finally, she was caught.
Yeah.
Or they.
Yep. So both girls were formally charged with the murder of Brian Howe, and in response to this charge, Mary replied, quote, "That's all right by me." While on the other hand, Norma burst into tears, simply saying, "I never, I'll pay you back for this."
I'll pay you back for this? Like to.
Yeah, to Mary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In a written statement, Mary wrote that she was present when Brian Howe was murdered, but insisted that the murder had actually been committed by Norma. She then admitted that her and Norma had broken into the nursery and defaced the property before the two of them had written those handwritten notes. After their arrest, both girls underwent psychological evaluations. The results of these tests revealed that Norma was intellectually delayed and had a submissive character who easily displayed emotion, whereas, on the other hand, Mary was a bright yet cunning character prone to sudden mood changes. So even though on occasion Mary was willing to talk, she rapidly would become sullen and defensive in nature. There was a total of four psychiatrists who examined Mary and concluded that although she didn't suffer from a mental disorder, she did suffer from a psychopathic personality disorder. In his official report, Dr. David Westbury concluded, quote, Mary's social techniques are primitive and take the form of automatic denial, integration, manipulation, complaining, bullying, flight, or violence. End quote. So, when the trials finally came for Mary and Norma, they both pleaded not guilty to the charges. The defense counsel for their trial tried to have Mary and Norma's right to anonymity enacted because of their age, but the judge waived this, and so this is why the media was allowed to publicize their names.
Mhm.
And so the trial lasted for 9 days, and on December 17th, the jury retired to consider their verdict, which would take a total of 3 hours and 25 minutes. Mary Bell was cleared of murder, but was convicted of the manslaughter of both boys on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Norma was acquitted of all charges. Upon hearing the jury's verdicts, Norma dropped her hands in excitement, or clapped her hands in excitement, but Mary burst into tears as her mother and grandmother also cried. When they were sentenced, the judge described Belle as a dangerous individual and that she posed a very grave risk to other children, and that he wanted to take steps to protect the public from her. So she was sentenced and detained. At the time of her manslaughter convictions, because she was 11 years and 6 months, she, like I said, was Britain's youngest female serial killer and has kept that statistic to present
To
time.
this day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, she was initially detained in a reprimand home, but was later transferred to a second home and then once again transferred to a young offenders institution. And here, she was the only female among approximately 24 inmates. In later years, Mary would claim that she was sexually abused by not only a member of the staff, but several of the inmates at this facility, claiming that it began when she had turned 13. So in November of 1973, when she was 16, around the time that she made these claims, she was transferred to a secure wing of a prison in Cheshire. And she reportedly resented this transfer, even though she requested it. And then later again in June 1976, she was transferred to a different prison. I don't know if this is normal in the UK. I don't think it's normal here in the US for somebody to be transferred this many times. But 15 months after she got there in 1977, she made national headline news when her and another inmate escaped the prison. Yeah. They supposedly spent several days in the company of two young men, visited amusement parks, and slept in various hotel rooms where they used an alias before they were caught again. A couple of days after her escape, she had already dyed her hair blonde in an effort to disguise her identity, but she was returned to custody and had a penalty at the prison. Like, she lost all privileges in the prison for 28 days, which in retrospect, doesn't really seem that long.
Mhm.
So, for her last transfer in 1979, they announced the decision to transfer her because this was a prison that would prepare her for her release back into society, which would happen in 1980. So, she had taken classes for being a secretary, and under supervision, she waitressed as a cafe in York Minster so that way she could get work experience for when she was released. which happened in May of 1980 at the age of 23, having served 11 and a half years in prison custody. She was granted anonymity, including a new name, allowing her to start a new life in the country under an assumed identity. When she was released, a spokesman said, and this is a quote, "She wishes to be given a chance to live a normal life and to be left alone."
No,
Yeah, no.
no.
4 years after her release from custody on May 25th, 1984, Mary Bell gave birth to a daughter. This would prove to be her only child, and her daughter would know nothing of her mother's past until 1998, when reporters discovered Mary's then current location in a town where she had been living for about a year and a half. The media release of this information forced her and her 14-year-old daughter to leave their home and be driven to a safe house by undercover officers. And eventually they were relocated to another part of the UK because of the amount of um
Attention.
yeah, the amount of attention and her not even being able to go out in public. So the right to anonymity that had been granted to Mary Bell's daughter was originally only supposed to be extended until she reached the age of 18. But in 2003, Mary had won a high court battle to have hers and her daughter's anonymity extended for life. The last update that people had before this took place was that Mary Bell had a granddaughter, and it was that the right to anonymity also would later include her because of that.
Wow.
So Mary's current whereabouts, because of her right to anonymity, are unknown and remain protected by the High Court order that was granted in 2003. According to Sereny, I think her name is Gita Sereny. I think I'm saying that right. Who is a author that wrote a book about her with interviews of her and relatives and friends and professionals. It said that Mary Bell does not claim that she was wrongly convicted and freely admits that the abuse she suffered as a child does not excuse her crimes. So while she has grown and like that in itself doesn't seem like she would hurt anybody now, it's still the fact that all this stuff happened and she was released so early.
Hmm.
But yeah, Mary Flora Bell is a trip.
Yeah, I'm irritated.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that
There's
was a
like
lot too.
there's a lot of information on the case. Like I skipped over quite a bit, but Britain's youngest serial or I guess she's not Britain's youngest killer. I don't think they regard her as a serial killer because she was only charged with two murders. Well, I guess not even murders, it was manslaughter, but
Mm.
yeah, and the fact that, like, Norma didn't get, like, any charges, not even conspiracy or aiding and abetting, like, none of that is also crazy to me.
Not even a smack on the hand.
Yeah. But, yeah, so do you wanna get us started on the paranormal topic of the week?
I do. So the paranormal topic of the week is actually on the Patterson House Museum. If you feel like you've heard that name before, you have. A couple episodes ago, was talking about how me and a group of my girlfriends were going to go to this house and ghost hunt. So I'm going to tell you what happened from my perspective. I'm sure we'll have Taylor Z and Stephanie on, Stephanie eventually, so they could tell their side of the story and their and their perspective. But I'm gonna tell you mine because I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this. I would have done it last episode, but last episode I was in charge of the true crime topic, so it wouldn't have really made sense. And yes, I could have done it through the catch up segment of our show, but I kind of want to give you a background on the house, which would take up a little bit more time. It's not going to be a lot. Mainly the experience part of it is going to take up some time, not a lot, but yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So the Patterson House was built in blah, 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 blah. Let me start that over. I'm sorry. One second. So the Patterson House was built in 1891 to replace a former adobe structure. The house is presently owned by the Winchester Historical Society of Pleasant Valley. The house is the oldest private residence still standing, what is now known as the community of Winchester. The Patterson family, John, wife Maria, daughters Tilla, Ida, and Jesse, and son Clarence arrived in what was known as Rock House in 1883. They had traveled from Yountville through Los Angeles to come to their new home. The area they settled in was soon to become known as Pleasant Valley and later in 1887 as Winchester. As they passed through Los Angeles, Maria gathered pepper tree seeds, which she planted at their new home. Some of these trees are still standing today. The family would soon become very influential in many aspects of the community's growth and prosperity. Listed below are some of the family's accomplishments. So, John Patterson was a major landowner, general store owner, blacksmith, tinsmith, board member of the first creamery in the area, part owner of the local brickworks. Tilla Patterson Hudson was a railroad station agent for Santa Fe Railroad at Winchester from the day it opened in 1890 until the day it closed in 1930. Ida was a school teacher for the Riverside School District in Riverside, California, if you didn't catch that. Clarence was a blacksmith, grain miller, and then Jesse wrote a prize winning essay about women's suffrage while in school in Winchester. Died at the age of 21 from a ruptured appendix while attending normal school in Los Angeles. And Lloyd, born in 1891 in Winchester while working for the Santa Fe Railroad in San Juan Capistrano. Lloyd met and married the daughter of the Forrester family. Lloyd died of consumption TB in 1915. Sorry, I don't know how to read. So that's just some background on the family, really quick. Here goes the story. So the girls and I get there, and the house is very creepy from the outside. Very creepy. Of course, I have pictures and videos. We all do. I think the girls have more stuff than I do because I was just, I don't know. I was like more in the moment, but I was also trying to go on live to get like viewers and like people to follow our TikTok page and stuff.
Mhm.
And so we get in there, and the guy that stays there, the guy that's in charge of the tours and stuff like that, he kind of gave us a really quick mini tour. He didn't have to, but he did. So he's showing us around the house. When you walk in, there's a bedroom to the left. There's like a piano room to the right. If you keep going, there's a dining room, and then the far back back left there's a kitchen. You go up the stairs, and on the stairs, on the banister, like on the what do you call it? The Yeah, the banister. There was like this nicely folded what looked like a blanket, but like rug type of material. Like it just didn't look like a comfortable warm blanket, pretty much, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And then he showed us I think there were three bedrooms up there, and then one room where there's a rocking chair, a closet. So he gave us a tour of the whole thing. We walked downstairs, and I made like a mental note of that blanket that was neatly folded on the banister because I didn't want to touch it. And I touched it, and I was like, ill. And we kept walking down, right? It was I think I don't know. I don't know where that blanket's been. I don't know how long it's been there. I don't know. There's spiders left and right. It was horrible. So we started our investigation. We didn't Okay, so here's the thing. I had my spirit box ready to go.
Mhm.
I've only messed with my spirit box when I first got it for my birthday, and that was it. I've never used it like anywhere else. Tell me why when I tried turning it on, it wouldn't.
What?
The batteries, the batteries are completely drained. And they were new batteries that I put in the thing. But I didn't think to get other batteries because they were new. Like I only used it once or
Mhm.
twice messing around with it.
Yeah.
So obviously we couldn't use that. So all we had with us the entire night were our phones and the dowsing rods. Come to find out, Taylor was just very like she was just getting answers left and right very quickly. So she pretty much took over the dowsing rods for the whole night,
Mhm.
and she was the main one asking questions. So we get to the point where we want to go upstairs. I'm leaving a lot out, but when we have the girls on, they'll fill in the gaps. We're
Yeah.
going up the stairs, and that rug that was neatly folded on the stairs was now on the stairs, or on not on the banister, I mean, was on the stairs now. But the thing is, like, if it were to fall, it would still be kind of folded, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't. It was as if someone picked it up and threw it on the stairs, and it was like messy. So I tripped out on that, and I remember telling them, like, dude, this was not on the stairs. This was on the banister, nicely folded.
Yeah.
So that was the first, like, sketch.
Yeah.
And then, we do our investigations in the room. And in one of the rooms, there's like a baby rocking crib type thing.
No,
And
that
I
wasn't
remember
in.
watching, it was creepy. It was fucking creepy up there.
I don't like babies because like when I'm going to haunted places because I don't do dolls and babies are like the size of
Oh,
dolls.
there were dolls in there. We talked about you. There was dolls in
Yeah,
there.
no
And we
thanks.
thought about you. I took some pictures for you.
No, I won't be opening anything that you send me for a little bit until you forget about that.
I won't. So, I remember watching a YouTube video of these paranormal investigators that went to the house as well, and in their video they caught the rocking crib rocking. When we went into that room, I was like, "Oh my god, the crib. I'm so excited. I better see it rock." Sure enough, Chelsea, I swear to you,
It started rocking.
it started rocking. And it wasn't like full on rocking, like it was like the slightest. But here's the thing. There's no electricity in this house. We had to use lanterns.
Mhm.
Windows are closed, so there's no wind coming in. So, there's nothing that could have made that crib rock, you know what I mean? Like to debunk it, I guess. So we were really where I was really fascinated by that. But those two things, like the crib rocking and the blanket on the banister were the main things that I caught. That was it. Then this next part is quite trippy, and it involves Taylor. And I can't wait to have her on here so she could tell you from her point of view. So, like I mentioned, Taylor was the one mainly asking the questions, messing around with the dowsing rods, right?
Mhm.
According to the old man that gave us a tour, the male ghost in the house is very fond of blondes. Now, Taylor is the blonde, and she is the only blonde out of all of us.
Yeah.
And she was the one asking the questions. After this, we left like at 11. We could have stayed there till 1 a.m., but we really wanted to spend some time together and just like have some fun. Because the next day we're going to go wine tasting, and I mean we
Yeah.
still had fun, but have some
Yeah.
like pretend we're still teenagers type of night. Pretend we're still young. And so we get back to her mom's house because that's where we stayed the night. And her mom fucking pimped up the living room with like air mattresses, blankets on the couches. Like it was like the best sleepover ever. We get there and Taylor's parents has two dogs, Jack and Sally. They're both crazy, they're both very lovable, and when we get inside, Taylor goes to pet Sally, who is whimpering, almost like she's afraid of Taylor,
Oh
doesn't
no.
want to go near her. She's scared out of her freaking mind, dude. And
Oh.
when we hear her whimpering and we see the reaction that Sally has towards Taylor, I remember looking at Stephanie, and in that moment, just that moment, it felt real. Like, oh shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
fuck, like Taylor brought back bad energy or something happened. And in just those few seconds, I looked at Stephanie. I was like, "Holy shit! This is scary. This is scary."
Not even at the Honda place anymore, and I'm terrified.
No, not even at the haunted house. Like just this reaction from Sally, who's you know a lovely dog.
Mhm.
And then Taylor tries to go back to have Sally sniff her or something, and Sally books it up the stairs, like runs for her life type of run, like running up the
Oh,
stairs.
poor dog.
We all felt really horrible about it. We
I
felt
bet. I
heartbroken. We
bet.
were worried. And I was like, Taylor, we were smoking. Maybe just like go wash off your hands. Like maybe it's just the smell.
Yeah.
Wouldn't go near her. So we slept. And then the next morning we wake up and Taylor tries to go for Sally again, but again, doesn't want to be near her. She's almost afraid of her. Looks barely wants to like make eye contact with Taylor almost.
Aw.
And, at this point, like, Taylor's mom is downstairs already, so we're all kind of telling her what happened, and we're telling her about Sally's reaction to Taylor, and even Taylor's mom was worried. And here I come in, and I was like, I could do a cleanse with an egg if you have an egg. Like, my mom does it to me all the time.
Yeah.
And Taylor's mom and stepdad, they're religious. So I was like, I'm just praying. Like, it's nothing,
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just literally me rubbing a raw egg on her while praying. So they were all okay with it. I go to the fridge, I get the egg, and I start doing the cleanse on Taylor. And I'm praying in Spanish because I don't know my prayers in English. Um,
That part always cracks me up every
so I'm
time
like,
you
Padre
say
nuestro
it.
que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre, venga a nosotros tu reino. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
listen though, because as I'm picturing you with an egg on Taylor and just speaking in Spanish, her parents are religious. I can just see their fucking reaction.
well, okay, first of all, we kept this from Taylor's stepdad because he would have not been okay with it. But Taylor's mom is just more like cool with it. So, okay, I finished the cleanse, and what you're supposed to do after is crack the egg in a glass of water. And when you see the white strings coming from the egg, that's pretty much like the bad energy.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it down the drain, get rid of it, whatever. So, we're done. Taylor tries to go see if Sally would go near her. It's as if nothing had ever happened. Sally is suddenly okay with her, goes near her, and at one point, Taylor's sitting on the couch. Sally goes to sit next to her and puts her paw on Taylor's thigh.
Yeah, she definitely brought something back.
And even I feel like Taylor's mom was the one tripping out the hardest because she's like, that's freaking me out. Because
Yeah,
she
yeah, she
witnessed
saw,
Sally
yeah.
being afraid of her that morning, and then she witnessed the cleanse, and she witnessed how Sally was afterwards. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think like Taylor brought a ghost back with her or an attachment. I think she just kind of
She had
brought
the
some bad
energy.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the energy that she brought back, which I think happened to Z when we went to the haunted museum in Vegas. When she came home and her mom sensed it, she sensed it.
Well, that was you
Um,
too in the car until you started
but
feeling better.
it went away. It went away, luckily. But I don't know, the bad energy decided to go all the way home with Z. Yeah, I think that out of like all of it, those three things were the craziest. Sally being like the wildest experience because seeing how afraid she was that night,
Mhm.
it was almost midnight. We're getting home from a haunted house,
Yeah.
and the way she was whimpering and the way she was like avoiding Taylor at all costs, and the way she booked it upstairs was just so, I
Yeah,
don't
because
know.
animals sense that stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so and she's a baby,
Yeah.
so that's my experience with the Patterson house. Like I said, I there's a lot of gaps in
Mhm.
the story that I kind of want the other girls to kind of come on and fill in,
Yeah.
but I couldn't wait to tell you about the dog, man, because I was like, bruh.
Yeah, that would've tripped me out too.
But yeah, it's my paranormal topic of the week. Do you want to go ahead and get us started with the tarot card reading?
Yeah. So this week's tarot reading is a month ahead, but I'm doing it a little bit different. Instead of a month ahead, I'm doing a monthly check-in type of reading. So this is a 9 card reading. Card 1 is our current selves. Card 2 is the theme of the month. Card 3 is a goal to pursue. Card 4 is an obstacle to overcome. Card 5 is a major accomplishment. Card 6 is what to avoid. Card 7 is what to embrace. Card 8 find support. And card 9 is advice and encouragement. So, card 1, our current selves, comes through the Knight of Pentacles. Right now, our current selves are that we're hardworking, practical, and sticking to routines so that we can accomplish our tasks. We're making a lot of progress and we're working hard for what we want and we finish what we start. We're also loyal and trustworthy, but are a bit stubborn. I feel like that's pretty accurate.
Very fucking accurate, actually. Yeah.
You're like, no comment.
No fucking comment, but yeah, true.
So card 2 is the theme of the month, and this comes through the strength reversed card. We are currently either overflowing with self-confidence or we are 100% depleted. So, bringing these aspects into balance, knowing our core strengths, and using our time to reconnect with this power of balance between self confidence and depletion is going to be really important this month.
Yeah.
I feel a little called out
Yeah,
with that
because
one.
you the strength reversed definitely it's representing like self-doubt and low energy. And with the first card saying how, we're putting our efforts into getting shit done,
Yeah.
try not to burn yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
Get your
For
shit
sure.
done, but don't burn yourself out. Don't put too much on your plate.
Don't forget to
Don't
do hobbies, take a break, go
yeah, don't
paint,
forget
go
about
for a walk.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, we have goals. Yes, we have shit to take care of, but don't forget about you, which is kind of what Chelsea and I have been going through recently. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we have this podcast. Yes, we have our families, but we're also trying to focus on ourselves. And it all takes up time, and it's kind of like a thing where you have to prioritize your time and energy and just make sure you're prioritizing everything correctly and just don't burn yourself out. Yes, it's important to get shit done, but life is too short, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And just put yourself first every once in a while, at least.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of going with like that example, like we have this podcast. It's fun for both of us. Like we both really love doing this. This is
Sure.
a hobby, but it's also work.
It is. It's
Like,
work. It takes time. We have to
mhm,
do our
edits, social
research. We have
media, research, exactly. Yeah. It's
so.
it's a lot. So, but speaking of goals, card 3 is a goal to pursue this month, and this comes through the Two of Swords reversed. So, a goal that we need to focus on is focused around the fact that we are in a situation where we are indecisive or overly cautious. And this is either going to be in a love life or career. Because we're being emotionally guarded and holding on to anxiety and resentment or postponing like a difficult decision, dealing with these issues is going to be a main priority and something for us to focus on. Um, it's not so much that we need to worry about making the right decision. We just need to make a choice so that things can progress forward. And kind of, I don't know about you, but and like what I'm going through. This card is very on point for me.
Hmm. So adding on to what you were saying, Two of Swords reversed. I mean, it means confusion. It means being overwhelmed with a lot of information at once,
Mhm.
possibly, which again kind of goes with the first two cards. Don't overwhelm yourself. There's probably certain hiccups in the road that you may feel like it's too much or you're confused about them. Like, why are they even here? Why is this even happening?
Yeah. Don't
Be
overthink
patient,
whatever it is that you're going through.
be patient with it, talk it out with someone. I feel like it, like for me, I look to only a couple of people in my life for advice. I don't ask everyone for advice because when you're oversharing. Two, I only want a couple of opinions because I feel like low key we already know what we want to do and how we want to go about things. We just kind of need trusted opinions by people that we trust. And so find like two people that you trust, get their opinions, think about it, don't let them convince you automatically like to change your way of thinking about a certain situation, but take it into consideration. There's just a lot happening, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, card 4 is an obstacle to overcome, and this comes through the tower. Kind of going with, we're focusing on an obstacle to overcome. This card represents something unforeseen coming, which could be destructive, a revelation, some kind of awakening, whatever it is, it's going to make our world feel like it's crashing down before us. And
I
even though this is going to be a huge obstacle, we also have to remember that new opportunities are going to emerge after this.
I hope you're listening to this reading because I feel like this reading is like very much towards you right now.
I know. I was
But
not I see, and I was like I was so focused on each, like, card meeting, like, I wasn't even
yeah,
thinking about my situation, but it is really, like
yeah, because adding on to what Chelsea said, the tower, yeah, it's there's gonna be sudden change. It's gonna feel chaotic. There may be some type of awakening there going on this month. Accept what is, but make the best out of it. And it's easier said than done. You know
mhm,
what I mean? Like, oh, find the good in it. Be optimistic. Don't be a pessimist. It's gonna be rough, I'm sure, whatever we're gonna be going through. And this is so fucking cliche, but there's that light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? And it may
yeah,
be dim as fuck right now, but I guarantee you, like, eventually it'll start getting brighter and brighter. But that's the whole point of it, right? Not giving up, not allowing the chaos or these sudden changes to stop us in our tracks. It's more of, okay, this is happening. Let me see how I could go about it in the best way. How can I go about this that's going to benefit me at the end of the day?
yeah, and it's so funny that you say that because card 5 represents a major accomplishment, and this card is coming through the Ace of Wands reversed, and this really represents that we are feeling either hesitant or distracted, maybe even unmotivated because of everything that's going on in our life.
Mhm.
But on the positive side, a major accomplishment is going to be using these factors to understand what we truly want and being able to take the steps needed to move forward.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so that is going to be our major accomplishment in the coming month.
Yeah, cuz Ace of Wands reversed means there's going to be distractions, there's going to be a lack of direction. Don't doubt yourself,
Mhm.
to whomever this is like leaning more towards, don't doubt yourself. Don't allow these distractions to get in the way of you overcoming this major accomplishment. I think that's what this card is trying to tell us.
Yeah. So card 6 represents what we need to avoid, and this comes through the Fool. Now, we've already discussed how there's a lot of change coming, and we're really going to want to focus on being free, like if having a free spirit, but we also want to avoid rash decisions and embarking on adventures or travel that's going to put us in, financial difficulty. While we do want to stay spontaneous and curious, we want to avoid stuff that's going to cause issues for us in the future. So really just focus on your present and how to move forward rather than just trying to avoid the situation.
Yeah. The Fool does represent like new beginnings.
Mhm.
So, like I said, you definitely want to avoid allowing those hiccups in the road to stop you in your tracks and embrace the new beginnings, embrace the changes. But at the same time, like be patient with it all happening. Don't rush into anything, like Chelsea mentioned, don't be haste and be in the moment. Think before you do, think before you say, think before you act.
Mhm.
Um, just patience, man. Patience, patience.
Yeah. Card 7 represents what to embrace this month, and this comes through the Page of Swords. What we really want to embrace is the fact that we have so many ideas and we have a thirst for knowledge, but we also love being truthful. And
Mm,
so we this month we're getting ready to just speak out and not hold back our truth anymore. And so we really want to embrace this aspect of not staying silent or compliant or submissive.
So let's embrace those new ideas. Let's embrace our curiosities because you know what? You never know where it's going to take us. A lot of us kind of stick to what we already know, or we take a road that's already been like traveled on, but you never know. You might find a shortcut to your destination. You might find, if this makes sense, treasure on a new road along the way to your destination. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
follow those new ideas because you never know what you're going to learn about yourself. And it may fucking benefit you at the end with what you're seeking, you know?
Yeah. So card 8 is where to find support. and this comes through the 10 of Wands. Now, we've already kind of mentioned about how we're going to be overburdened this month, having a lot of responsibilities and major changes and challenges coming. And this is going to feel like we are taking on so much. So, to find
Mhm.
support, we need to really focus on having fun and keeping that in our life. And basically just self-care, but like make it fun, make it do your hobbies, go painting if go painting. Do some painting, go for a walk.
Go fucking paint a house.
Yeah, no, that's more stress. Just like have
Mm.
Alexa turn off.
Alexa, shut the fuck up.
Just really have fun and just, despite all of this that's going on, just keep in mind that, the end is going to come. You're not going to live in this part of your life forever. But, painting actually sounds really fucking fun right now. I might
Anyways,
do that.
and a
Not me getting
keyword.
distracted.
Chelsea, stay. Um, but yeah, like finding support, like I mentioned earlier, and you said a keyword that I want to bring up again, burden, because Ten
Mhm.
of Wands represents burden, and I think what this card is trying to tell us, or wants us to kind of make a message out of, is don't feel like you're a burden when you're asking for support or help, because you're
And if
not.
you're feeling burdened by somebody else, make sure
Mm.
you vocalize that. Don't hold back this month.
The last card represented new ways of
Speaking truth.
communication.
Yeah.
Okay, so communicate, fucking stand your ground, have some fucking boundaries, put yourself first. And Chelsea was saying self-care, find hobbies, things to do that you find that you find joy in doing. I'm kind of going more towards of like when you're asking people for help or support,
Mhm.
um don't shy away from it. It helps. It's helped me get through some like really rough times in my life. And yes, in the beginning I definitely felt like a burden. I felt like I was being annoying. Like, oh yeah, sad little me. Like, no.
Yeah.
Feelings are valid. What you're going through is valid. You are valid.
Listen, you're very like on it today.
Listen, my antidepressants are working.
Look, I just like I'm at the point where I'm like, man, I should just like let you do this fucking reading.
The last card, ladies and gentlemen, card number
Advice and
9.
encouragement is coming through the 8 of Wands.
See how
And
Chelsea didn't let me take over? She said, "Yeah, let me hold on, shut up. This is my job."
I didn't know if you were being sarcastic or not, kind of like when we
I was
played
gonna go for it if you
Hang
let
Up.
me. No,
Go
but
for it.
what?
No, go for it. I'm done. Yeah, when you kept hanging up on me on Discord.
You have no fucking proof of that. What the
Okay,
hell?
okay.
Anyways,
I love how you didn't deny it though.
I'm literally denying it right now.
No, you didn't. You just said that I can't prove it.
Anyways, card number 9. Advice and encouragement. We got 8 of Wands. All right. 8 of Wands removes. Oh my god, what?
Oh, now you're gonna lose your momentum.
Yeah, this is a team effort. Take it away, Chelsea. This is a podcast of a duo, a team.
I love how I hand over the reins and you're like, deer in headlights.
Help me.
So the
Help.
advice and the advice and encouragement this month is blah, 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 is that um exciting times are coming and we're going to start seeing all of these results and we're going to be finding solutions. You're really going to notice that your hard work and like times of struggle are coming to an end. Or that your hard not that your hard work is coming to an end, that it's paying off. Now you got me all fucked up.
I threw you
um
off.
so yeah, just advice and encouragement. Just remember, not these tough times are not going to last forever. This month they're really going to start coming to an end. You're going to start noticing the positive side of all of the changes and challenges that you've been going through. And like we said, we've said it a couple times already, self-care. Just really give yourself time to wind down. If you don't, the more that builds on you, the more that you're gonna struggle. Don't let that happen.
And since we're on the topic of advice and encouragement, when I first got told, literally 3 years ago, by my therapist that what are you gonna do for self care? I didn't know what self care meant. I was like,
Mhm.
because she was asking me, she's like, what are you gonna do for some self care this weekend? I was like, I don't know, do the laundry.
Dude, same.
Like, you know what I mean? I didn't know. But that's the
Yeah.
thing too, like, that's something I want to tell you guys is not to feel guilty about having that self care.
Mhm.
Because there may be a part of us where we feel guilty that we're having fun, we're enjoying our lives, we're taking a minute to not focus on that responsibility or
Yeah.
whatever it is we're going through. Because we
I've
are just
really
as
struggled
important.
with that. Yeah. I really struggled with that when I first became a mom
Mhm.
because I felt like any type of fun meant that I wasn't doing a good job at being a parent.
You're an amazing mom. You're scary sometimes, but you're an amazing mom.
When my mom voice goes out, Veronica gets real quiet.
I do, and then sometimes I'll like jump in and be stupid and she'll yell at me like, "Don't." Like, shut up. You're not helping.
And
Um,
it's not like if I'm like getting loud with my kids and she'll say something and I'll just be like, "Veronica."
yeah.
And it's just like it's like, sorry. Instant quiet.
Everything just like tightens up. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh. Um, but to end on the tarot reading on card 9, advice and encouragement. Eight of Wands, a key word that really pops out to me is movement and action. And I
Mhm.
know I don't want you guys to take me the wrong way, Chelsea. I don't want you to take me the wrong way. Our bad times, our certain situations may not come to an exact end this month, but this card is trying to encourage you by saying that there is movement happening.
Mhm.
Change is already happening. It may not be the initial change you want, but there's changes happening within that movement. So it's just saying how, important it is to just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And if you need to take a break, take a fucking break. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel like a burden.
Yeah. Leave your kids with your parents, you know? Take
Or
the dog
send
for a
them to
walk.
California for a couple of days if you can't fucking handle them anymore. Not trying to call anybody out,
Listen, I did not
but
send my child to California. She went on vacation with her family, her other family, okay? I did not
if
send her
that's what
there.
you wanna go, listen, look, self-care. Don't feel guilty about it, Chelsea. Don't feel guilty about it.
Listen,
Self-care.
her other family is the one that sent her to my grandma's house, so, like, that's a prime example of just fucking take a break if you need it.
A breather, a
Yeah.
breather.
Her family was on vacation and they needed a vacation just from her.
Well,
Listen, I love my kids, but they're a handful.
let's just say Chelsea wasn't complaining when her oldest went to California.
But I talk to her every day, and I couldn't wait for her to come back, but
Yeah,
that first day of silence, uh,
heaven for a mother.
yeah. I can only take a day though, and then I'm like, "Give me my children."
Give me my child back.
All right, ghosties, thank you so much for joining us this week. We hope you had much what?
We hope you had much fun. Okay.
We hope you had as much fun as we did. If so, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am currently working on uploading all the past episodes that we're behind on. So
I
definitely,
mean, not TikTok. YouTube's been a little bitch. So,
yeah, like my videos have not wanted to upload. And I'm like, I finally just like plugged it in directly from my router to my computer. And now they're like uploading like nothing. So,
mm.
but I don't like doing that because then nothing else in the house works. Anyways, if you want a tarot card reading, please DM us and we'll choose one lucky person a week. We are your hosts. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Veronica.
Have a spooky weekend and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.